man strive for three things: power, money, intimacy. These are the three things that make a black man feel that his existence is worth living. It's time for a new story. One where you're successful. One where you're working towards your goals every day, conquering and reaching your ultimate goal. All right, welcome to Masculine Health Development. I'm Alexander Barry Kemp, your men's development coach. I help you get fit, make money, find love. Now, today's topic is a very unique one because, as a young man, I was always looking for role models in the media. When you scroll to YouTube, you come across people in the past. I can remember looking up to a lot of people in the so-called conscious community, such as the great, at that time, Brother Polite, Young Pharaoh, and just to name a few, because these guys were like perpetuating the spiritual knowledge, the knowledge of self and history of ancient civilization of the Black people and how they were, great, and the spiritual knowledge and knowing how to cleanse your being and open the chakras and all that. But what I've seen, fast forward 3 to 5 years, the downfall of a lot of the masculine or Black men in the so-called conscious community. I'm like, what the heck going on, man? It isn't like how it used to be. Before, we used to look at these people as esteemed people of principle who literally had immense knowledge. I can remember Brother Polite would talk everything about the diet. We would talk about Dr. Sebi and the herbs and the sea moss and polygyny and how a man was supposed to be in the move and love his law and family's business. These things greatly influenced me as a young man. And honestly, it has helped me along my journey because it was like a sounding board to be able to hear some things that was a bit different than just listening to your basic rap music or your music, which you would find normally in today's mainstream society. It was a beautiful experience just to pop up, type in Brother Polite, and then look up and see, wow, that brother was spitting facts on things about the Bible and go up against debates and all these other guys and how he just was killing them, like literally with the facts and this swagger with it. And then we saw him transition from just being like about it. I mean, like he's dressing a certain way, then he started to change. But then what I began to realize that, yeah, he began to talk less about the spiritual stuff. He said, man, I'm too smart to be broke. I'm just recording all these things off the top of the dome from my experience, but he's like, I'm too smart to be broke. So he started to go away from talking about that type of information and start studying money. And of course, he did start to make connections. I know at one point in time, he was like a celebrity mentor, mentoring a lot of celebrities and helping them with their so-called balancement and trying to get them, on the right track spiritually so they could be able to balance their finances with their physicality. But then next year, we started to see him hang with various peoples in the industry. At one point in time, I saw a video with him, Buster Rhymes, and Buster Rhymes like, yeah, it's a god. I said, man, stop talking to me, man. But it was so amazing that at the height of the glory, we saw the downfall because the downfall became significant when it breached a certain precept and concept. When I say precept and concept, it was like a man who has more than enough, apparently, his wife or his girlfriends. We begin to see the decline of Brother Polite and then a lot of the so-called allegations on him scamming, him not following through with some of the products and programs he would have. And I was like, is this true? And then, like I say, in business, you can't satisfy every customer. And some people have ulterior motives to be able to get you to be looked at as a bad guy. Like Scarface say, you need people like him so you can point your fingers and say that's a bad guy, right? But the whole point was is these were guys we look up to, we aspire to. Then we reach a point where he's like, there's a new brand new Rolls Royce. We just bought this property over here. We got this thing over here, this resort. See my daughter, she's making six figures more than you and this and that. But next year, fast forward 2 or 3 years later, we have Brother Polite is alleged to have raped a young girl underage and all kind of different speculations. I'm like, what the heck going on, man? We was looking forward to him being the one who's gonna like unite the Black people or something, But then boom, he was destroyed. And now he allegedly has to spend about 7 or so years, and who knows how the world's gonna change by the time he gets out. But this is not to take a hit out of these guys, but just to say, hey, these guys are people we look up to. And now I guess on the internet, people are looking up for who's gonna be the next voice of inspiration for the so-called Black people. And then it's Young Pharaoh. We first came out and he was talking about spirituality and diet and how he's a vegan, how he talk about the chakras and alignment and how the words that we use and how his journey, which really got people, was him going to prison and coming out and then start changing his life and talking about inspirational things that people needed to hear. It was like soul food. He was big on the so-called sciences of spirituality and ancient civilization and the CIA, and he blew up really big. We used to enjoy just watching him with his
background was saying Pharaoh, and what is the significant name Pharaoh? The Pharaoh name was literally was something that predicated something that is leadership and someone you could look forward to for guidance, you know. But as we see him went along, we would see there's some type of sassy behavior behind that. Now I know sassy is a term we use in today's society when they talk about a man who's highly emotional, similar to that of a feminine trait of a female. But the whole fact was we began to see a lot of him reverting back to more profanity and reverting back to more feminine traits and unhinged emotional temperament. And that's one thing that literally started to be seen as a red flag in Fowler's exhibition as we would watch his YouTube videos. And then we began to see a lot of his problems stemming from his relationship. How the girlfriends of his time, who he would dare love and had children with, would somehow sabotage him based on what he's saying and all the various controversial things that happened. And I'm like, what's going on here? And then fast forward, he began to be able to create things that were, influential, such as the Aachen University and all these things like that. And but then we was hearing people talking about similar things like scamming, like how you say you have a court case coming up, you'll go fund me and this and that, and money's being not being allocated exactly to what he said the cause was. So this became big controversial. And then from there, he was still making the started to do some music. People were tuning into his music. People were tuning into his some of his courses and programs. And people enrolled. People were following him. People were looking at him as like a young savior for a lot of the black people who had no place to put their attention besides clubbing, smoking, drinking, party. But then with the instability and the things he was going through, I guess he resorted to more drug use, which would be like marijuana and all those potential dangers that people consume. Then he started flying chicks out to invite him over to his place. And then all of that power that he deemed himself to have mentally fell on deaf ears when he literally stop having principled interactions. He began to see himself as like that rapper, that celebrity, but then he forgot the principle. And then he started taking drugs and then he started talking crazy. And then we started seeing the downfall of him getting involved with certain things. Now, before that happened, he was like on top of the world. He was having interviews with CIA, former CIA agents, discussing with people across the world of all different uh, uh, walks of life, people who were talking about yoga and this and that. That was pretty decent to see how he's literally part of something that he was seeing himself to be the global unifier and the voice for the black people. But fast forward back now in 2025, we see headlines showing, or not headlines, but people stating that look like he has lost it. He's allowed his soul to be sucked so much until it's now there's just remnants of once great, bright individual who had a very wise knowledge and wisdom of life and things to pass. But I say all that to say this. What I realized that has been the downfall of many men, from even from the ancient times, was unprincipled engagement with women, as well as not allowing themselves to be disciplined enough to stay away from detractors, and detractors in the forms of drinking, alcohol, drugs, anything that is not of the natural uh, elements that the body needs. And we see the same thing with Mr. Brother Polite. He began to go to parties and so forth. And when you start to get up in that party life, it's very easy to get yourself associated in things that could be a bit controversial or even destructive to your reputation. So as a young man, I want you to look at all those things in the past, because we didn't forget, but use this as a stepping stone so you can allow yourself to become more powerful mentally, physically, financially, and understand with great power comes great responsibility. And therefore, you need to have some basic principles to guide your life, because without that, even when you reach that state of power, you're going to lose it quickly. Or even reach that state of famous, you're going to lose it quickly, unless you have a basic system of understanding yourself deep enough to avoid those snares and those fallets and those traps that may lie ahead of you. But yeah, man, I recommend all young men learn from these things and elevate. And right now, I know many people are looking in the money, they're into the money move right now, where they're trying to make money online and trying to run a bag, seeing these young millionaires pop up. But as a young black man, I say, hey, focus on developing a deep connection with the divine. And if you do that by harnessing your power and knowing how to focus your attention, eating the right foods, exercising, engaging in positive talk, positive music, you're going to liberate yourself so that you could be a beacon not only for yourself, but for your family. And before I leave, I just want to show you one thing. for all the black men out there who need inspiration, they want to instill a greater sense of self-belief, reliance, and impact. I welcome you to the Black Superman 13 Affirmations of Power. This is a book I wrote back about 5 to 6 years back on 13 of the most powerful affirmations on the planet. This book is available in ebook form and audiobook. You could download it from my website. It's available right now. And man, if you don't know where to start, what to do with your life, I would say start this book because you need to be inspired of what potentially could be for you. And this book has transformed my life, even though I wrote it, divinely inspired, has transformed my life because I've seen my life hit leaps and bounds every single year. And I stay on track and I'm doing a lot of great things. But it's not about me, it's about you and what you're going to do. So go right to my website, link down in the description, get the book, start reading it, listen to the audiobook. I can guarantee you your perspective is going to change. And as your perspective change, your thoughts are going to change. Your thoughts are going to influence better action. And then boom, before you know it, you're living the life that you truly made to desire. Now remember, you don't have to become a millionaire to be happy. You simply have to be in a flow where you're in a balanced state, where you're taking care of your health, your wealth, and being productive for things that you want to be known for. Hey, thank you for liking the channel. Thank you for popping in. Thank you for subscribing. Have a wonderful evening.